Hey guys, hello. Welcome back to my channel. Always happy to find you here. If you're a new subscriber, I hope you stay for a very long time. It's my pleasure to have you here. I am wrapping up what is turning out to be like three little parts of passport dating. So if you didn't see part one and part two, I'll drop it in the description box for your convenience. And I would really suggest you listen to those first before this one. I'm just wanting to wrap up here about value-based relationships, which is what started the whole passport dating. One was for men and then two was for women. And so this one is just about our relationships. And I've always said, I am not a relationship expert. I'm not a marital and family counselor. I am not a marriage expert. None of those things. I'm talking from the perspective of what I believe that we all mutually would want. Despite who you date or how you date, I'm talking about how a person likes to feel, even if they've not experienced that feeling. When they do, they would want this in a relationship, that part. And that's what this is. And I do want to keep it fairly short, under 10 minutes. That's it. My average is, you know, if I go past 10 minutes, the last one certainly did, but I was saying something. I want to talk about this one about how we can better our relationships, starting with our communication. Tone is everything. Tone is everything. Now, I would say that in an even personal perspective, and I'll admit, hi, I'll admit to this. Tone is vital for me. You can't speak to me in any kind of tone. Even growing up as a child, I would get my feelings hurt by a certain tone. Most of my discipline came just because the tone I didn't like, and I would cry. Or I don't like the tone because in my mind, I'm thinking you could have just said that. You didn't have to say that like that. Now that's mine. Still haven't grown out of it. I still haven't. If a person uses an abrupt, starchy, persnickety, arrogant, attitude-ish, snobbish tone to me, all of that is offensive. And why? For me. So I'll just use myself as an example. It is for me because when you do that, when you use those type of tones as I just described, by default, you disrespect and devalue the person, at least in that moment. No matter how well you think you know, even if you're siblings, now you can have a disagreement and that may come up. I'm talking about regularity. I'm talking about on a regular basis, that's your tone. You and I have an argument, I'm gonna bring it and you're gonna bring it. You see, you see that? You got it, just went right into it. Went right into it. You're gonna bring it and I'm gonna bring it, and the tone is gonna change. Now, stay with me. Stay with me. When I am in a relationship with my mate, whoever you date that you consider that person, I date men, only men. So I'm talking. So when I am in a relationship with my guy, I have never in my life used a tone so terse that it cut his king level. Mm-mm, mm-mm. Ain't never happened. Let me tell you why. If you're a real queen, whether you say it or not, meaning you carry a standard of a queen, however you want to say it, but those are terms I use of a right person for a right person. Let's put it that way. If you're not comfortable with the word queen, because a lot of people ain't. So, but when you are in your relationship with your person, you never use a tone that can cut the level of the person, the soul of the person, the king of the person, the queen of the person, the ultimate personhood of it. You never do that. Because when you do that, it stores within their basement. And they'll remember it even when the fight or whatever is over, that you actually got that low. Never get that low. Now, we're all imperfect. I've had arguments and I've said some things. And when I was younger, I was ridiculous. I would throw things too. I've outgrown that part, but I would throw things. I was tantrumist to some degree. We've all grown up, but I would throw some things. But I never got to his manhood, ever. I never had an argument with a mate in front of someone. We were always alone. We were alone if I threw something. I threw a shoe. Threw a shoe. I don't do that anymore. That was young. That was very young. But I'm giving examples. I never argued with them in such a way that they would remember me differently. Mm-mm. Tone is everything. And one thing about tone, your choice words when using tone is everything. Profanity ain't never something that will help you in your argument. I personally have always been more effective speaking like I am now. Because when I use this, everybody knows I am not playing. You see, if I give that talk, we're having this talk because it's a definitive moment. And while it may feel uncomfortable for whatever we're discussing, to me, it's an investment because whatever upsetted me, we're talking now, are you, are us, or whatever got us here. We're carving our way through that friction to get ourselves back in flow. Now these are my words. I want to carve through the friction. I don't want it stored. I don't want to talk about it. I want to carve. I don't want to bring it back. And that's another thing. When women do that, they go way back and talk about it again. Once we're done talking, I don't want to talk about what's the purpose of that. We're done with that. Didn't you fix that? Or didn't I fix that? Didn't we fix that? Get the friction back in flow has always been my goal. Now, I'm not saying that to that person, and that person's not saying that to me. When you're in sync, you know it's happening. So, tone is everything. Never cut your king and never cut your queen, or make them feel disrespected or dishonored. Never. Mm-mm. If you do that, something's wrong with you for whatever made you do that to that person. So I would check that. So tone is everything. And certainly men don't want to hear it over and over again. Now, I'm not advocating for men. I'm not saying that women only do it. Men do it too. But typically, men don't want to hear it over and over again. It sounds like a broken record, like a broken record, like a broken record, like a broken record, it's like that. It becomes, it becomes as if. Don't even bother. Okay? So, what's your tone? Men don't want to be mothered. They want to be nurtured. And women want to be, while they want to be provided, they also want to be protected. So those two parts. So let's talk about the role. Naturally, now, whoever you date is yours, but I'm, again, talking male-female type relationship, woman-man relationship, I'll put it. But because the energy is male-female. So, no, wait a minute. The energy is earth, the energy is feminine, masculine. So, but anyway, I'm not talking about that. Men don't want to be mothered. They want to be nurtured. While women want to be provided for, they moreover want to be protected. If you have that, you're going to be okay. If you have that, you're going to be okay. If I'm dating somebody new, I say it early on. Are you in a position to protect this relationship? When I say that, I mean, are you in a position that when I'm not there, you're still carrying yourself as a king? I don't have no time to be running behind nobody. I never did. Even when I was young, I'm done. I just don't do it. I don't keep tabs. This whole thing about going through a person's phone and keeping tabs on them and checking out their social media. Now, it's one thing to see your social media, a great post and all that, but I mean it in a way of spying on it. All of this is discomfort within your own soul if you're doing that. All of that. If you want to see the person, if you want to just say, hey, I really like that post. Oh, look at you. Look at how good. And all that. But to just be doing it in a secret way, that's distrustful. So you're building distrust. All of that nonsense. Knock it off if you want a thriving relationship, I'll say. And then lastly, no, thirdly, I'll put, because there's finances. If you get to the point where you're considering nuptials with this person, and then nowadays, so many times people do, they want to move in first or whatever. They want to give a test ride or whatever. Whatever, child. Whatever you do. In my last post, I talk about a woman who had quite a bit of money and she was marrying a man who didn't have as much. And then the topic of prenuptial came up. When I talk about prenuptial, you do you if you have a car and he doesn't have a car but a skateboard and you think you need a prenuptial, then get one if you think you need one. When I say prenuptial, I'm talking about such an imbalance between not just the finances, but the overall lot in life. If that comes up, whether it's you to that person or that person to you, you should be open to that and not be offended. And let me tell you why. If it's an imbalance in a prenuptial is necessary, typically one person is way out the range of the other. Because if you and I kind of have the same thing, we got a 401k, we got, we have our home, you have a condo, I have a house, whatever. If we're within the same, there's no need for that. That's the audacity to ask because there's no need for that. But when it's way out of range, there's no need to feel insulted by that. Didn't you love me enough to? No, don't do that to me. And let me tell you why. Let me tell you why. Oh, get comfortable. I get serious when I get caught. Let me tell you why. Don't get offended by that. Don't get offended. Let me tell you why. Let's say it's that person, it's not you, because the person who's offended is the person that doesn't have the money. That's the one who's offended because the other person is making a smart business economic decision. Don't be offended by that because that person that person has spent, invested, harvested their entire life for what you're just going to now incur. And they have every reason to want to best take care of it. In the same way that, like for me, so let's just use an example, not use finances. For me, my health is more important. It's important to me that I'm fit. It's important to me that I even scale in on Saturdays. And my weight, I want it a certain way. Why? Because when I was growing up and I played sports and I was active and I walked my dog, it's just a habit. I don't even have to, but it's a habit. Now, if I meet someone who doesn't give a about it and won't take care of themselves, not that it's judgment, but to me, I'm concerned about their health. I want them healthy. Even if they're a little overweight, even if they're not, uh, they don't have the structure, but I want them healthy because in my mind, health is wealth. Now that's my frame of mind and thinking. The same thing for finances for certain people. They live their whole life to incur this, and they're not just going to turn it over to you. to wreak havoc with it or to leave with half of it. Now, using my same example of health, if that person and I married, when they left, with or without a prenuptial, I remain healthy because I'm in full control of this. If I'm no longer healthy, it's either by choice or something outside of my control. But after all these years, I'm still trying to maintain to some degree. Don't have the same body I did 10, 15, 20 years ago, but fit is important to me. Healthy is important to me. Healthy, well, fit. Health to me is wealth. Wealth to me is wellness and health more than anything else. So it's in my mind that way. That's probably not going to change with the person coming into my life. But if they left, I can still maintain that with or without them. It's not that way with your finances. So I'm okay with a prenuptial for anyone because if they left, they can take your finances with them. Okay, you worked hard for it. You deserve to invest it properly. So I'm okay with that. And everyone needs to be okay with that. Should you meet someone wealthy outside of your current lot in life and they're changing your lot in life. So be okay with that. And then lastly, is friends, family, and foes. Just keep them out of it. Keep them out of it. We all have people in our family in whom we can have what I call the deeper talks. If something is going on in your relationship that you want to have a deeper talk with them and you know they're a confidant, that's fine. But I'm talking about the insertion of mother, the insertion of father, the persuasion of sister, the pushing of brother, the bad brother who comes to town and lives in your home and wreaks havoc in your home and your wife's uncomfortable. I'm talking about the infiltration of family and friends. Friends who somehow or another went through a divorce, and I see it on cheaters all the time. And you want to be a good friend and let them come and stay with you. And while you go to work, she's sleeping with your husband. All of this, keep your pentagon in strategy, is what I say. Yeah, I heard that from a young rapper, Young Berg. They don't even go by that name anymore, but I never forgot that. You are your pentagon. Keep your pentagon in, and keep your pentagon in strategy. So do that. And when asked, so here's this part. This to me is very valuable because I said in my last post, I have my Fab Five friends that I really am comfortable with, and they're comfortable with me. And if I'm married or they're married, I don't feel like I need to adjust and be careful that they looking at my dude some kind of way. I just don't have time. I don't have time to nurse that. My energy will nurse it. My energy will make it. My energy will let me know. But I don't think that because my Fab Five have been my Fab Five for a long time. But having said that, should one of them or me ask them distinctly and directly about a person by whom I'm considering, I want to hear them. Now, not everyone wants to, and not everyone wants to hear. And be respectful of that. If they meet someone that whom, in your opinion, offers a shortcoming you want for them to avoid, if they're adult enough now and you don't feel that they're ready to hear it, then don't say it. Now, don't let them fall, but don't say it. Let me give you an example that happened many years ago of a dear friend of mine. Oh, Yeah, I've been bridesmaid so many times. Bridesmaid so many times. She had asked us to be her bride. I mean, she was one of those persons. Now, this is many years ago, and so we're okay. And I even asked if I could. We don't see each other as much anymore, but I asked if I could share this. She said, "Sure, it'll help me again." But she had asked, and I know about this person that she was considering marriage. And I said, "Now, are you ready?" Now, what I really meant is he the right one? But I said, "Are you ready?" And she said, "Oh, I want to be married and I'm going to have this." And everything she talked about was about the wedding. And I said, "Well, now you know, weddings are a lot. Are you ready?" She said, "Oh, yeah, yeah." And she went right back to talking about the wedding. And we all got fitted for our dresses and we were all having the brides and all this stuff. And I was very torn about this person. I just didn't think he was right for her. I did. He was a problem. So I said to her, I said, "Look, I'm not sure I should be in your wedding, but I will be at your wedding." And she said, "Oh my God, why?" And that was my opportunity to decide if I'm going to tell her or not, right in there. I didn't want to be in the wedding because I didn't want to be a part of it. Even then, that was many years ago. But even then, my intuition said, mm-mm, mm-mm. Girl, don't do it. Mm-mm. She said, "Oh my God, why?" And I said, "Do you want me to tell you why, really?" And she said, "I do, Sheri, I do." And I told her. I told her. And all her other friends had already told her. I said, "They did?" I thought it was just me. And she said, "Everyone's telling me that." And I said, "Then why don't you listen?" And she said, "Because I want to be married." Now, she went on to marry him, and everything we told her occurred immediately. And it was not only a problematic marriage, it became an abusive one. Alcohol, drugs, and even physically, that we didn't even know the physical part. And all the warning signs was given to her. So I'm sharing that to say this. If all your friends are saying it to you, all of them, do you not think that they know you well enough? They're actually, you asked them in your, they must be really close if you've asked them in your wedding party. And they're all saying the same thing, and none of us had talked to each other about it. Now, see, me, I've never been a gossip girl. I, I've never been a gossip girl. I don't, no. So they'd all been talking. I didn't even know. Later, after it was all over, then the divorce happened and she was just in a horrible thing and it took her backwards. She contacted me and she went through this whole thing that I should have listened. I said, "No, no, don't do that to yourself." And she said, "I need to say to you that although all my friends had said it, it wasn't until you said it that I felt I shouldn't have married him. But by that time, it was too late. The wedding was coming." She said, "I should have realized when you stepped out. I should have realized." So all of this had come to her. And she was saying, "I wanted to thank you for being at least intuitive and graceful and classy enough to somehow or another get it to me." So if you have a friend like that, listen to that and help prevent a possible hardship to them. Because ultimately, loving a person is a risk to some degree or another. Um, as I mentioned earlier, financially or tone, a tone, verbal abuse is abuse. All of that when we get to our lifetime mate. So find a healthy balance. And speaking of healthy, as I mentioned earlier, health is important to me. So when a person comes and they're carrying what I call this degree of baggage, whatever, find out what your limit is. Because if a person has an issue and they are sorting through that, that person is salvageable. None of us is perfect. Even if they have challenges with their finances, they can correct that. Even if they have, um, let's say, recently, or they still have child support, let's say, for example, they still have, they, just as long as you understand it, you have to take a person as a what I call WIP, work in progress. We're all imperfect, but don't take on more than your lot or that you find is comfortable for you, where you feel that you're carrying the load, okay? And so having said that, treat our relationships very rich and very loving and very kind and very cordial, and put that person first and make sure that person puts you first, and don't take or tolerate anything which is intolerable to you in the first place, because what will happen then is you will store the disturbance in your head of how you don't like this and you don't like that. You have to be able to stop it at its starting point to some degree. And if you don't stop it at its starting point, make well, let me say that correctly. Make sure if you don't stop it at its starting point, make sure you stop it before its ending point in you, and it ends you to no end. Like, unfortunately, a friend of mine. So having said that, we're moving on now, and I hope that you enjoyed this video on I would say respectful, value-based relationships, and non-judgmental, and harvesting, and loving, and caring, and kind, and date night, and whispers, and smell of the cologne, the smell of the fragrance, um, the comfort of not being with the person and knowing that they will take the right actions, because typically if they're interesting to you, they're interesting to someone else, and maybe someone else doesn't know they're taken. So there is, to me, now we're going to the energy. I'm going to end this right there. We're going into the energy. When you're not available, the energy will percolate that you're not available. Doesn't mean you won't say something to someone, doesn't mean someone won't compliment you, but the energy won't allow a development into something else. And this is what happens in on the job relationships, when there could be an issue at home and then someone takes a compliment at work far more deeply than they should, because they're not fulfilled at home. All of this stuff, it's just so much. So it's so much. So my ultimate recommendation is to keep yourself fulfilled in your relationship. It's such to the point to where no one else is infiltrating it. And that's what I call a protected relationship, where passports aren't required. And I love you. If you've gotten this far, please click like, please click subscribe. Bring a friend with you next time. Share my little channel. And I love you. Have a good one. Okay. Bye, y'all. I'll see y'all later. Bye.